So you wanted to discuss how to stay motivated in a downtime, and I think that's such a key topic of conversation. And there is enough of this material that's going on, and it is because it's relevant. But it counters popular. The everyday person is really like either an information seeker or promoter. Okay, there's really only a few types of people in this scenario, like during the pandemic, and that's people that are constantly looking for information. Probably they're at a stage of like not accepting the situation yet. So it's feeding into the media and social and like all constantly listening to the updates and looking for emotions out of the news, like to validate, like if they're already scared or frustrated or whatever, they continually are looking for information to like fuel that. And that's why like, as I participated in a group conversation just yesterday, actually, and that most of the times, especially with these forward thinkers, they're saying like limit your time if like you're going to look at social or the news at all. In fact, like try not to.
Yeah,
because that is feeding that emotion that's that vulnerable emotion that's there.
Yeah, I think you hit it there when you said people are looking for somebody who is an expert on how to feel, not so much the information, because the information is the information, like I said.
Yeah.
But what they're really looking for is like, how should I feel about this? Because I haven't accepted the reality of this situation. I haven't accepted that it is serious or not. I haven't decided how to feel yet. So I need an informed opinion to tell me how I should feel.
Right. And that goes, the second group are the promoters, the people that find the information and share it, like, create the discussion. They're kind of trolls, it's like, let's get this, let's spur up, the arguments and so on, and find the information and then post it, find the information and like smear it, like that kind of create conversations to get that like going again, to align themselves with their thinking. So it made me think of, and then like the last group is the information seekers, and then who use critical thinking to determine their own conclusion, right? Like, and you get conclusions where people, and most of those are like the action takers. So it goes back to Eleanor Roosevelt's quote that we covered not long ago.
Yeah,
was like simple people talk about others. Remember?
It was great minds talk about ideas. Or something talk about events, and then something talk about people. But it was those things. It was great. Oh, it was a really great quote. I'm trying to remember it.
I'll find it, but go ahead.
I was just going to add to the information that's just flooding, and the people that are unsure what stance to take on this. And yes, it is overwhelming. There's a lot of attention on it. But what I find interesting is that the health professionals don't tell you how to feel. And the people that are seeking these health professionals and the advice and all these things, when Corona passes, when this thing does pass, because this too shall pass, when it does, I always wonder, will these people still be seeking out that advice they got from that person? Mm-hmm. Like, I just find people that are sharing information now from the different sources. It's like, you weren't up on that source before, so why did you change? And when this is done, are you going to continue with that source? Probably not, because it was negative. So you're going to change back. So it's like, there's a quote. Great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Small minds discuss people. Like, that's it right there. So I'm guilty of doing all of those. Yeah, I love ideas. I love to talk about ideas. And of course I talk about events. And yes, you talk about people because people are, they're part of events and people give you great ideas. So it's a mixture of all three. But because you brought that to my attention, I always think, okay, what is the idea? When people are, when I get in a group and people are talking about events or people, I try to extract an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Just to validate. It's like, I really shouldn't be talking about these people, but I can't. It's fun. Sometimes it's just fun. So, like, you know what? I'll justify it by extracting an idea. Then I'm like, yeah, I feel good.
Yeah, for you. Right.
Yeah.
It's a great point. And I think people have a tendency to stay in that lane all the time. Once you've decided, because arguably, no matter what, it's like our discussion about money enhances who you are. If you're an ass to begin with, more money will just make you more of an ass. If you're a generous person, you'll be more generous because you have the ability to do so. So are people arguably the same through different crises? Will you talk about people no matter the event of the day, the narrative, whatever's going on? Will you talk about ideas all the way throughout? Are you someone who talks about action and just like what we were saying.
Yes.
What's enhancing the situation is, the coronavirus, COVID-19. So those people always talk in that manner, irrespective of what's going on. And so there's the people that are looking for information, people that are promoting the information, and then others who are talking about ideas to move past. It's the difference between those who are apathetic. There's people that retreat and actually are counterproductive. They're using it as an opportunity to validate that, a pessimism. Right now, I might as well drink, smoke, drink, and I'm gonna maybe contract this anyway and die. Then I'll just engage in risky activity anyway. You know what I mean? There's that. There's negative. There's the do nothings, which is a negative anyway.
Yes.
And I think there's few that have to continue and lead and take action and still push, because arguably in a time of contraction, this is where someone that is aspirational can accumulate more ground in whatever.
It should, absolutely. This is actually that time of because we all know coming out of this, the world itself will be changed. We are going through a process of change, so it just makes sense to take that time to do that on a personal level too. It's like, okay, the external world is going to change, and everybody operating and behaving within it is going to change. It must change. It has to change. So why doesn't the individual change? Take this time of isolation, of self-isolation, to go, I have to change in order to meet the new challenges that lay ahead. Instead of the old me that's complaining about the people, I'm going to bring that old me that's been in hibernation for X amount of time. I'm going to bring that out and just start complaining. It's like,
it's difficult enough to decide what you're going to do and how you're going to be in this time frame. So to change your ethic, and as I say, like the older you get, you can't change your ethic. like increasingly, okay, I want to learn how to play the piano. The further I get from my youth, I don't play I'm not. My mom wanted me to play the piano. I took a couple lessons. The teacher was awful. It didn't help. I got off to a bad start, and since then, I've never really been musically inclined except to listen to music but not to play instruments and what have you. But the older I get, I'm the window is it's so to think you're gonna do it in a pandemic and become go from an apathetic to an aspirational person. It's like that. I've heard this often said about Americans. It's when it comes to their finances and their debts and so on, it's once they get down to their last little bit, not all, okay, but in the US, it's very much like land of the free, opportunity, start from the bottom, make it to the top. So it's like even those people with the bad habits, financial habits, they're like, okay, if I could just win this lottery or hit it big at the casino or just blast the stock, like, and I'm on my last couple $100. I'm gonna throw it all in here, and I'm gonna go from the bottom to the top.
Yes. It's like
windows. They're everywhere.
and they're closed.
But let's face it, they're small.
They're small. They're small windows. It's not saying it can't happen, but it's like, it isn't. You're not prepared psychologically for any of that. Like,
what's the quote when preparedness meets opportunity?
Oh, yes.
Prepared and the opportunity presents itself, and then boom. And that's what I've always said, like about, you're great thinkers, you're the people that are truly exceptional in their field. It's kind of like they've been ingrained and they've been doing it and they've had those habits all along. So that's why it's important. And I think this is going to answer your question about motivation at this time is stick with the basics of what you've been doing, continue to do them every day. Don't think you're going to hit a home run. And the timing is irrespective because, like, frankly, without the pandemic, you don't know when that opportunity is going to come anyway.
That's right.
Actually, to think that a time like this, where there's contraction of depression and less opportunities, I think, and that's why they say the stick with itness during this time is usually successful because you have a lot of people in the same boat, maybe going for the same thing that have completely shut it off or shut it down at this time. So that opportunity is actually more meaningful and a bigger payoff. But you're not going to. I truly believe that you're not going to create that now if you have to change your attitude. And if you're working on hyping yourself up, it's. I watch it, like, people are posting a lot of workouts, and it's like, okay, while I'm off, okay, suppose it's done at the end of April, I'm going to lose 30 pounds by the end of this lockout. I'm like, well, if you weren't working out before, what makes you think you're going to get it all done in this period of time? So
exactly. Now's the time just to build the habits. We're just building habits, getting used to being in that flow state, right? So that when you know how to turn it on.
Well, yeah, I mean, if that's being said, okay, I was said, okay, you can't change your ethic. You got to do something, because I think isolation and thought, I mean, without positive, constructive activity, it's easy for the mind to think the worst, and then you begin thinking the worst in yourself.
Yeah,
and start to beat yourself up, and not moving. Not being able to move, taking the opportunity, to get up and go whenever you want to, is it really screws up with the mind. And I think that's what leads to the depression, right? It's like, okay, I feel like there's no opportunities. I don't even have, it's easy to pin everything on this, right?
Yeah.
Because I can't go out, essential services only. I can't just get up and go. It's whatever was ingrained or was in, bothering that person already. It's easy to pin it on this.
Yes, exactly. And I think a lot of people, like you said, are using it as an excuse to shut down. Right? It is difficult to stay motivated when you haven't made it a habit, when you haven't made it a habit before, the pandemic broke out. And so now the restriction on top of everything makes it more difficult if you're not rehearsed in finding motivation, inspiration, ways to, leverage what you're already doing in small amounts, small ways, right? Because a lot of people are like, the big win, if I can do the big quantum leap to this event or to that thing, then I will be set. It's like, okay. But
I mean, it's one way, but it's so minute in terms of the chances of it happening, right? So, but I mean, given that, we'll always encourage our viewers, our listeners to, do whatever it takes to be happy and to stay positive and to find that. That's why they say, now people will say follow your passion, but I heard a really successful person say recently too that just passion